Hey guys, welcome to episode 27.
Are we at 27?
This should be 27. We'll find out if the number is different. I was wrong. If you see the different number on the title. But welcome back to Cue the Muses podcast. This is a spin-off of the actual show, Cue the Muses, our sci-fi comedy that you got to check out and tell people about. Maybe you already know about it.
They were trying to steal your documentation on shutting down hormone.
We finished your mind travel machine.
I had a scientific partner in the mind travel machine build, Dr. Cthulhu.
And we're back here. We got some interesting stuff to talk about this week. But the first thing that I think we should address is something super relevant. Mm-hmm. Universal has pulled off their entire catalog from TikTok. This is actually a really big statement. This is a really big deal.
Universal Records, by the way. I was telling this to my son, and he got confused. He thought I was talking about movies. Oh. And I said, no, son, Universal Records, 33% shareholder of all the music out there, all the big names, like the biggest record company on the planet. And guys, it's happening, okay? Cue the Muses is about an artificial intelligence that is building number one top charting music, right?
Yeah.
In the show, it's like the biggest hit ever, and it's also brainwashing humanity. TikTok is generating its own music now.
Yeah.
And that music that's auto-generated by an AI is becoming chart-topping music.
Yeah. No, here's what I don't know, and maybe you know. So with TikTok, because I don't really use TikTok, I know...
I don't either.
I should, I guess, because we're trying to push this show, and music is getting really popular on TikTok. Because I don't watch it or use it, my question is, on the AI music, is it that it's remixing a bunch of Universal's catalog? Is that where it's becoming so wishy-washy, or is it completely original? I
have no idea. I haven't heard any of the auto-generated music.
Yeah,
I haven't heard any.
Research this more.
I'm scared. I'm about to go off grid and start playing with mushrooms and mind travel devices.
Yeah, if you see our show, we never listen to the song. We don't even know what the song is because we just know we got to dodge it at all costs.
Always wear your
earplugs.
Always.
But I do think let's say I think what's happening, I believe, is that it's also ultimately, if AI is creating music, it is sampling from the World Wide Web. It's remixing ideas, concepts. Mm-hmm. I believe that some of this AI-generated music is probably remixing current catalog stuff. And then what's happening is that's not spilling back onto Universal the same way that, one, the clip's being used so they get a direct payment for the copyright use of that, but also people aren't looking up the single. See, I think a lot of times those clips lead to tremendous amounts of exposure for the artist that come back on Spotify and things where people get to go listen to the entire song versus just the 30 seconds of it or a minute of it, etc. Right?
That is absolutely the case. And I am going to see a band in April at the House of Blues in Orlando. They're called the 502s, okay?
Yeah.
And the 502s got to the status they're at. I mean, they're doing great. They played Lollapalooza last year. They're playing festivals. They're on tour. They're coming to the House of Blues in Orlando, and these guys are from up north somewhere. But they got a big break from a song on a TikTok video that went viral.
Yeah.
And it pushed them. It pushed them to it started that perpetual motion that once it gets going, it's just going.
Yeah.
And they're one of the guys in the band, his sister is married to a guy I work with. So there's the connection.
Right,
when I go to the House of Blues, if I get a chance to talk to these guys, I want to kind of pick their brain a little bit and see, what that was like, having a song escape you like that, right? Because it's your creation, and it goes on a viral video. It's so different from pushing it out there and the song being the premise.
Yeah.
Because it's a combination of your song and whatever that funny video or a time, some connection is there between the visual and the audio.
Yeah.
But then it just takes your song and then it has a life of its own, right?
Well,
then
and it's so different for TikTok because, so like Spotify, if your song was to get successful on Spotify, people are, one, hearing the whole song, and two, they're hearing just the song. What's happening on TikTok is it's unique in that people are taking your song and then applying it to their own content creation, their own video, their own dance moves, or their own skits. And so it's like a content creation tool. It's like having this amazing library of stuff that they can use, and they can, as somebody, it's an opportunity for them to become popular too. They're growing their own channel. So it's not like they're just pushing your song, they're taking advantage of your song taking off, which is great. It's all symbiotically like great, where everyone's growing together. But it's such it is such a different animal than anything that we've ever had in trying to get exposure for your music and what that really is. Because I mean, there's definitely some music that lends itself more to that than other stuff. I mean, deep, emotional, moving stuff, not so much do you want somebody doing a skit with it to get the point across of the song. I don't think it translates as well. Versus something poppier and more fun and upbeat. I would assume, again, I might be out of my element here, and it's like people take the sad dramatic stuff and make the funniest stuff out of that. But then again, I would say that's not representing the music the way the artist is really trying to.
It's such a new playing field.
Yeah,
it's so new, and I promise you, and I heard it from when I first heard about this happening. The guy whose video was saying it, I agree 100% the same thing. The only reason Universal is pulling all that library off of there is because they haven't figured out a way to make enough money with it yet. Yeah. So and that's the thing. They're grasping for straws. Okay, like everything changed. Every music world changed forever. Just like AI is here now, it's not going away. Is it going to change everything? Yes. Has it already? It already has.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so, like the other day, I was having a conversation. I got super excited. A band that I really, really like, that one of my favorite bands in the world, from Anchorage, Alaska, Kenai, Alaska, 36 Crazy Fist.
Oh, yeah.
Like a 20 or 30th, maybe 30th, 20th anniversary release album, vinyl.
Wow, they've been around that long. I didn't even think about that.
20 years at least. And I think it's 20-year anniversary, Bitterness the Star, vinyl. And I got pumped. I texted Amber. I was like, hey, this is what I want for my birthday. I want this vinyl release. And I talked to the drummer, the original drummer for 36. His name's T. Thomas, and he's a painter. I've bought amazing painter. And I was like, man, I'm pumped. I'm going to get that. And he was like, yeah, it's pretty messed up. None of the guys in the band even knew about that. I was like, wait a minute, what? And he's like, yeah, they're not getting it. Like,
oh wow, that's so
I was
bizarre.
like, no, it's heartbreaking. It's like,
so in other words, they didn't. None of the guys in the band knew that there was an anniversary release of their content, their album.
Yeah,
it's just getting put out there. They're making the record companies making. Is that Universal?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's Universal or not. I should have been prepared and known that,
Curious,
but I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, it's a changing time, and like now, independent artists are getting their own IRMC or whatever, getting their own codes for their own music, getting paid. There's an app that's being developed by a Swedish company that's linking people to those codes. And those codes are the only way that you get recognized as the songwriter. It's all like it's all like the lingo, right? It's the vernacular of the industry.
I believe Spotify is Swedish, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's out of Sweden.
Yeah.
So they got it figured out on music over there. It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. And it's already changed. There's no fighting it. There's no anybody that complains about it is just not accepting the reality that we're living in. And we're just trying to find a way, which kind of brings us back to our show, Cue the Muses. We're trying to find a way to keep doing music in new and creative ways, because it's just everything's changing nonstop. It's never going to be
and
like
it's also it's changing, and as much as it sounds like a soapbox of complaining, it's also these insane opportunities that you never had before too, because without the record labels before, you wouldn't have had access to the world the way that we do, right? I mean, as far as the way that what the internet has done for us. It also is insane the tools that we have available. Not only obviously, I mean, look at the production quality of our actual show. It's insane that we're doing that independently. something on that scale would have never been an option for an independent band, 20 years ago. It would have been unattainable. But because of cost of cameras coming down, then you got the recording quality. I mean, look, Brett Hessla did a killer job on this music. If you check it, I mean, I'm not even tooting my own horn here. You could hate our music, but you can't deny that the recording quality isn't good.
The engineering, the editing, songwriting, not so much, but he did.
Yeah, the songs suck, but
he did help with some arrangements on the album. When you record, your engineer's your fifth member or whatever.
Well, and they're great for also tie breaking, and I try to be that too for bands sometimes on a music video shoot. If there's, especially when it's a 4-piece band, 2 verse 2 on how something should go, the director should be the tiebreaker. Why not? It takes away all the group. Yeah, we'll roll with it. He feels the vision. You do that with your sound engineer. But the quality is insane. I mean, that would have normally been so much more money to have achieved. Not that we didn't spend money to make it, but it just isn't comparable. You'd never.
It's not apples to apples like it used to be. It's a whole other world. I mean, bands used to. We talked about it in a previous episode. They used to spend. They used to hemorrhage money in the studio.
Yeah.
And now, now
$50,000, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 for the recording of the album. Now you got guys complaining to spend like, oh, what? Like, you mean you charge a couple of grand a song?
Wait,
like
so it's $1,500 a day. The Black Album cost Metallica $1 million.
Yeah, I mean,
$1 million to make a record.
Yeah. Now, but this is fun. I like us going. Let's go down this rabbit hole for a second. So how there's. On one level, you get to that kind of price category because you're basically being raped financially because of all the push by everyone's hands being in it. The more money you spend, the more money everyone gets their hands on.
And there's a mentality.
That's not in the band.
There's a mentality in there somewhere that the more money I spend on it, the better it is.
Yeah, right? Definitely. We're going all out. But then there's the other aspect. It's a completely different way to write and record an album. So in our cases, and most of the independent artist route, you're coming in and you have your songs. Now you might manipulate some things, change the order of something, add in some other instruments, come up with a different vocal line, but you're coming in with pretty much arranged material, and the more you come in with prepared, the more you're going to get out of your recording session because, you're fighting time. Even when you're being charged less by an engineer, at the end of the day, they can only go so far. They've got to get another person in to make enough money to cover their overhead, etc. So you need to be time efficient. Metallica's coming up with their entire album and exploring where it's going to go in the studio. So I couldn't imagine what that's like to start. We're going to go into the studio, we're going to write an album. I can't even imagine what that's like, I know what it's like to do it. Last thing I'll say is I know what it's like to do a song, right? And I'm sitting at the computer arranging it myself and recording. I go as long as I want to, except for running out of time because I need to be doing actual paid work. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there's a disconnect of you personally having to execute every single task and trying to be in the creative performance. That's different than when you go into a studio and you don't have to worry about that part. You can focus on solely the performance and the creativity. Yeah. It's a different wavelength that you're on that I think is beneficial.
Totally. And in a book I'm reading right now that somebody got me for my birthday, puts it great. There's the artistic mode.
What is it called again? It's Rick Rubin's...
The Creative Mind or something?
The Creative Way?
The Creative Way?
I think it's The Creative Way. It's such a good book, guys. I really recommend it.
Yeah, he breaks down, and what happens is, as a songwriter, you go through your artistic phase where you write the music. That's the artistic phase of it. When you start recording it, you turn into craftsman mode. That's the craftsman phase. There's more like work, where you have a set of a systematic series of things you have got to get done. The creative part stuff. Not to say that creativity doesn't come back and forth while you're doing that, because you have to be open to change. If you're open to change, you can see, where can this go? And there's a lot of bands that have been in the studio that have been pressured by time where they wanted to go down an avenue and they think it could have been great, could have been a really great thing, but they just didn't have the time because that clock's ticking, there's a deadline, there's money going out the window. I mean, but it's just part of it. And that book really captures that artistic kind of mindset to be in. Yeah. And that's it. It's been helping me. The other weekend, we're doing our Dave's Last Night recording all in-house, except I'm not set up to record drums. So, it wasn't a thing where we're going to go do a full production with Brett. So I shopped around and I found West End Sound in Atlanta, which is a studio that was built and owned and operated by a guy named Bill Hilliter, the guitar player guy from Mastodon. I can't pronounce his last name.
Oh, he's the guitar player from Mastodon.
Bill, yeah, the Fu Manchu guy. And his buddy Tom, his best friend Tom, is the engineer.
That's cool, guys. I mean, the guys from Mastodon. That's
great. No. Like so this experience we had in the studio, we went up there, and Tom, the way he set up.
This is last weekend.
Last weekend, yeah. I flew up there with Kyron, and Tim didn't make it, but John, our drummer, came, and Jeff came up, and we just wanted. So I wanted John this experience while reading this book. I'm like, man, I want John to have this experience to get him in a place where he is who he is. And that means his drums, his mode, I want him so comfortable and really focused on that for him. I didn't want him to go to a studio and feel alien, like I have to play this kit, it's not my kit. And I told this to Tom. I had a phone conversation with Tom. I said, I need my drum. He's so good. And I just want to, I feel like it hasn't happened for him, like to capture who he is. And so the first day was 4 hours of setup. Friday night, John drove up, got the drums set up, everything. Super cool room. I mean, it's great big room. There's all this cool stuff everywhere. It's rugs and cool guitars and amps and old things. Awesome. And just the vibe was great. And he's in there, and Tom's in the other room, and we got set up, starts dialing it in, and then it was great. John got in the mode. He got that smile on his face. And then in this recording session, I told Tom, I said, I want to sub out the drums. So we'll track everything with you, but I'm going to take the sessions back because it's Pro Tools and Pro Tools. He says, so I'll take the sessions back and I'll mix everything in and then record the rest of the album at my studio at my house. And man, that place, and this is going to sound like a West End commercial for a minute, and I'm going to say I'm still riding a high from being in this room, because things like, hey man, let's try this snare out right here. It's pretty cool. Joe Perry gave it to me. It was on the Aerosmith album. It's like, oh wow. And then John's like starts playing Aerosmith on it, and then Tom's in the engineer room with a guitar playing and I was like, oh, just great time. And my son was there for the whole thing, so that was awesome too. And then the next day it's like, man, there's a little guitar pedal there. I was like, man, this is a pretty cool pedal. I was like, oh yeah, Slash gave that to me. We were doing the Velvet Revolver album. I was like, oh, who can I play the pedal?
This makes me think we should buy a collection of random old things and then just make up a story.
Just make stuff
for
up.
Each thing, and then put it on this wall, and then take you guys on a tour.
And the whole thing of recording there, I told Tom, I was like, I'm gonna really need to figure it out, do drum. And I saw the way he did everything so different. And now I'm gonna go in. The AI comes into this. So I had a dispute with a person on the internet the other day, like a Facebook thing. It was silly. And
a person you know? Or?
A person I know,
okay.
Yeah. It was like, because I've been doing a lot of these random generated images of the Dave's Last Night. So Dave's Last Night, I can't do Dave, right? Because it won't do his face.
The AI generation that's inside of ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, so it's the DALL-E
form
software.
of DALL-E, that's right. That's right.
So I'm making all these random things. So I said, okay, our mascot for the band is a zombie in a diver's bill helmet wearing flippers. And he's like a zombie hero trying to save the world from whales and sea monsters and stuff. And I just keep using this for different things. And it's like, it's so easy. You say, hey, generate this, blah, blah, blah. They always look like AI illustrations.
Once you know the look that it generates.
I can pick up on it now. I can see something online, like, that's an AI thing. That's not real art. It is real art, but it's not a person's art. It's not. Somebody didn't spend 18 hours designing
I want to come back to exactly this conversation point after you finish talking about it.
So I'll get through it. So I put a post up about something else. Can't remember what it was. And I was like, at least it was an illustration I did on the plane. When I was on the plane, I had a book and I drew just a random abstract thing. It was like a tree with a thumb. I drew my own thumb. I'm just killing time. The plane's going off, a little anxiety, getting in the air. And I drew that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's great. It's better than a stupid AI thing, zombie thing." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not trying to threaten anybody. You know, I am an artist, kind of. I illustrate, and I love doing it, and I love music." I was like, "But I'm not threatening anything with the AI stuff. It's a tool." And so when I left the recording studio with Tom's great, super just fluid person to translate things with. So
Awesome.
he's recording. He's like, "Yeah, if you have any issues, this is what I did here. This is how you do this." So, and I'm going to wrap this up quick.
No, you're good. I was just making sure we were recording.
No, but so
I look occasionally.
so when I did, and he was like, "Yeah, you can call me, man." He said, "I'm going to be down at the Allman Brothers studio in Miami or whatever next week." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But
I gotta get some more stories like this.
This is super cool guy. He's
have a catalog
he's my
like-
new favorite person right now. Sorry, man. But so I was like, man, I really need to figure out, because he has said something. I was like, hold on. I said, let me ask ChatGPT. And I was like on my lunch break, okay? And on my lunch break, I said, ChatGPT, I said, I need some help, information, mixing live drum tracks on Pro Tools. And I said, can you give me a step-by-step breakdown on what to do, where to start? And boom, 600 words instantly. Where to start, where to do this, where to do that, where to do that. What EQs the snare should be at. And like, not perfect, but oh man, you want a place to go, like an avenue? I said, oh. So they said, okay, I want to mix drums in a modern hard rock song, but I want a classic rock vintage vibe for the drums. I want that kind of sound. Like, I don't want the drums to sound modern. I want it to sound like it's a modern song recorded in the 70s. And it started telling me, I'm like, okay. And I started copying the ChatGPT into an email. Then I saved it in a Word file. And then I started arranging it. And I said, I'm making a manual. I'm making a reference. 4,000 word manual of everything from using elastic audio to separating transients to how to clean up your toms and use a gate to silence everything, how to blend in the overheads, and each time it would give me a section, I would highlight one, and then I would search that one, and it would give me a breakdown and a sub-chapter on that one. And 4,000 words in 20 minutes. I haven't used it yet, but it's going to be...
Well, I'm curious what your results are, because, I mean, that's amazing. And I can, with Adobe Premiere, I mean, I'm editing videos. It's the same thing, and I've been using it for half a year now, right? Because, I mean, was an early adopter when it started learning what it was, and I want to be at the cutting edge of it, and I knew that this is the beginning of tools that you're going to gradually find within the programs, right? Once this AI stuff starts really taking off, it's going to be embedded into the programs, and I want to be hip on it and just be at the frontier of it with it.
It's
sure
already
enough, it's in
changed.
Adobe
It's already
now.
changed.
Yeah, I mean, Adobe's got all these. In fact, I haven't tried the new beta version of Adobe, but it's pitch. It's trying to get me to update to the newest version now, which I don't recommend doing that if you're in the middle of a large project. Always wait. Let them have get all their bugs fixed on their first pass. But it says, like, the most advanced sound AI, via AI, it's the most sound update they've ever done. It's like amazing. Like, they're pitching it hard that they've got this AI implementation in it in that regard. But with ChatGPT, just being able to talk to it, so asking it direct questions. I mean, I've been editing in Adobe Premiere for 20 plus years. I get paid to do it. This is how I make a living, is making, videos. And I've done some reasonable sized videos that have done pretty well. I'm considered to be a pretty good editor.
All on your own.
All on my own. Yep. And so I've never gotten to go to, there's a lot of available information online now that you can get, which is great. I'm a part of that. I put out, by the way, guys, I do have lessons on YouTube.
Rough Cut Productions, how to.
Ash Von Chamier. Just type my name in, and there's a channel. I've got 150 plus videos teaching about video, and I add to it whenever I can. And so I'm learning more new stuff just by asking ChatGPT. There's so many times when you're actually in the middle of an edit. You could relate this to your music program as well on the DAW. You're just doing something, and then a random question passes by, and you're like, one day I'll learn that. Well, like, I wonder if there's a way to do this or do that. It seems like there'd be a way. And you just like, one day I'll have to look that up. But if you have Chat GPT, it's like, you know what? I can fucking just ask right now. And so I just click over 2 tabs, type it in, and then boom, it's called this. There's a term for it. And you'd use it here, and you can find it here, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm doing it. New techniques, new tools.
There's no rabbit hole, right?
Before
you would
researching and trying to find opinions and it's just
next thing you know, you're looking at how tiny homes in Japan or something.
You don't have to synthesize the information you don't have to gather up 5 articles and figure out what the commonality is to being the most true thing about it, because you're just cutting to the chase. And another thing I just did, total random mention. I'm making something graphic design wise. I'm putting together a production packet for pricing packages for a potential new client. I like to make my stuff look like their design. I want them to know that I can hang with the theme of their website, etc. So I'm like, I want to use their font. I don't want them to know that I'm designing it this way. I want them to just see the end result.
Like a surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
Oh, man. Wow.
So what do? I just cut out a little piece on my screen, because you can hit Window plus Shift and hit S, and then you can just
a snip tool.
Snip.
Yeah, I love
and you'll snip a little section.
I'm a big snipper,
right? So I snip a little thing of their font, of their logo. I copy it, I paste it right into ChatGPT, and ask what fonts would look similar to these 2 fonts used. It gave me 2, and then that's exactly what I use. I mean,
so
very similar.
You're actually using it on your desktop. I haven't even gone there.
Oh, man, you got to use it on your desktop, too.
I got to get it on the desktop.
Oh, yeah, you just go to openai.com, and then you're logged in, and it's the same thing, but it's great to be able to type it out, and you get to see things bigger, and it's just right there while you're working, it's a
digital assistant.
It absolutely is. So, I mean, to be able to just have somebody just tell me right away, this and this, and I try it out, and it's like, that's pretty damn close. I'm going to roll with that. That would have taken me an hour to try and go through all the fonts and figure out which one would have looked like these 2. And so there you go. I mean, just a little small example. Things like that all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And
we're such proponents of AI, and our show is about defeating AI.
Yeah, it is.
But with music.
We're using
just their music.
We're using just AI's music's where I draw the line.
Yeah, it's where I draw
AI generating its own music. That's where I draw the line. And Rob's friends with. But it's great. It's like having. It keeps you from going down the rabbit hole of searching and then filtering through a bunch of crap, a bunch of different things, non-relevant stuff show up in a search and doing it. It's just right there. And if you need an answer for a question, if you need a technique that you don't understand, but it's not there if you don't engage with it. Does that make sense? It's not. It's not like AI. It's not like you used it and he used AI to make.
This is information.
This
is information. I'm figuring out a trip. Part of the filming that I'm doing is going to be going to a couple of different spots in the country. So I'm using it as not just I'm like, all right, so how many? I know you could look this up by just using maps, but it's the nice thing about asking ChatGPT this is, how far is it from Tallahassee to blank? It says exactly how far it is. I'm like, okay, if it's $3 average, and I'm getting 18 per gallon of gas, and I've, getting 18 miles per gallon, and yes, I can do the math, but I can just type it as fast as I can say it and get an answer. And so, boom, it's like, it's going to cost me this much for gas to get there. Okay, great. What's the average income of the population around there per capita? So I start getting some ideas of the demographic for the place that I'm going to be in. So there's like because I'm thinking about marketing too, and there's a lot of things that tie into what I put together. And then, boom, the answer's there. You know how long it takes to keep researching this thing and then drawing out, your numbers to figure out all your, it's just, boom. It's just ask, think of it. Just think of it, ask it, you got the answer in most cases. And it's amazing.
It always makes me think of Good Will Hunting. When Matt Damon owns that guy and says,
how about them apples?
He says that's a line too. But when he says you spent all that money in education and for information that I got from the library.
Yeah.
It's like that, and that's it. You know, it really is leveling the playing field for so many people don't know right now. Like and people think they have a misconception of what it is or how it works or this.
Right.
And I'll admit I was one of those people too when a guy I worked with, first time I heard the name Chat GPT, Jeff Sharp was working with me and he showed it for work and he was tired. I was like, what are you? He's like, I went down the Chat GPT rabbit hole last night. And this is 2 years ago.
Okay.
So, I had never heard it. I was like, what the hell is Chat GPT? What are you thinking? He's like, oh, it's taken over. And I was like, what? No, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, yeah, it's coming. And I was like, okay. And then I kind of, then you got it.
Yeah.
And then when the shark helicopter image came out, I was like, okay, I have to.
I convinced you.
That was it.
Because I'd run
shark helicopter's it.
That was a pretty damn good image. I had mentioned a few different things that I was kind of did with it and stuff, and you were apprehensive. You're like, there was even something I showed you, and you're like, "That's great." And then I was like, "Yeah, it was written by it." And
it was a description.
I fucking hate it.
I was like, "Oh, I hate it." That was
the response.
I hate it now.
After you knew,
I hate it now. And I did that the other day. I asked ChatGPT because I got a buddy, Kurt Rogers, who is also a cast member of Cue the Music.
Oh yeah, he's coming up.
And Kurt is. I've been messing with Kurt about coming on the show, and Kurt is a guy who's notorious for not responding so well to digital communication.
He just
he just doesn't look at his phone. He's not that guy, and it is who he is. It's fine. But I asked ChatGPT, generate a text message to send to my friend Kurt, who never answers the phone when I call him, and I'm his best friend Dick. And I said, make it obnoxiously long and hilarious. And it was long and hilarious.
No way.
Instantly, it was so funny. So funny.
That's scary.
I texted to Kurt. Scary. I texted to the group chat, and then I was like, all right, now generate a Facebook post, the same thing. I'm like, about my friend Kurt that can't answer the phone, and I posted it on Facebook. Yeah. And it's people laughing really went over well. I was like, this is so. It wrote jokes, and they were funny.
That's scary. That part of it's scary,
And that goes down a whole other rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, and it does tie back. So you had mentioned one. I said I want to come back to that at some point. So when you were talking about the studio time, something came up where you had mentioned something about. Oh, darn. I'm realizing I can't remember exactly what the spot was. But I don't remember exactly what you said, but I know what I wanted to touch on that's about it.
Yeah.
So the amazing music that's coming out, right? Mm-hmm. I do want to point out that I think it's a bit you can. Oh, now I remember what the trigger is. All right, guys, I got back there.
What was the trigger? Here we are.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Muses podcast where we talk about.
You can spot the common. There's something about
AI
the look.
Images.
Yeah,
Yep.
You can kind of spot it, and I feel like the music. While I haven't heard everything, it's going to have that too. It's just that it's new, and so you don't know. You can't pick up on it every time yet. But inevitably, as we become more used to it as a population, you're going to be able to start spotting it. You're going to be able to start spotting it more. It's like a voice actor.
It's like a voice actor of an actor that you don't really know, and you hear him on a cartoon or something. Yeah. Then you see him in a movie, and you really like him, and then it's
you recognize it every time.
Then you always know it's him,
even when he's making a different voice or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's and I know that there's techniques that I've seen in video editing. There's things like warp stabilizer, for instance. You have shaky footage, you put it on there, it can help make it look like it was on a gimbal or something, right? But it has an artifact. All these things have minor little artifacts that start to present themselves. You can see a little tremble and warp sometimes if it was too shaky, and then you can spot it. And once you know what it does, once you played around, you can spot it every time on people's videos. Even high-end stuff, guys. I've spotted stuff on the highest-end car commercials. That was they had to rely on warp stabilizer a little much there. I'm surprised that passed on such a high production. But you can spot it. Same thing with Melodyne, right? Like when you're doing the auto pitching on and fixing people's vocals. Yeah. At first, it's almost indiscernible. It's like, that sounds amazing. But once you know how it does it, you can hear the tinge of, and it just, you're like, it's just a little bit too flat. It's a little bit too perfect. You have to start bending. It's a little too straight and locked in. It doesn't waver at all. You know, there's little teeny artifacts. And we're all, as a population, because we're becoming familiar with these tools, and the kids that are growing up into this and using it, we're going to be able to spot it. Once you know that an AI created whatever the content is, whether it's music or art, you know, same thing like the guy did with you. It's like, oh, it's better than the AI generated art or something. Like almost like it's soulless, you know, right? Like it's just, and to some extent, it kind of feels like that way. It's like a video game when you get God mode entered into it. It's not fun.
Yeah.
There's just, you know, it loses it kind of ruins it for you.
The challenge isn't there.
The challenge isn't there.
Like the AI stuff, you feel like it's the AI illustration stuff is a super entertaining thing.
Yeah.
So, and I made a bazillion different versions.
And there's so many amazing illustrations in it. I mean, it looks really neat and captivating.
But it all has that tone. It's all colored. It all has that color. It has that artifact.
There's a certain art like look to it.
And that transposing it brings back the conversation that art is a creation of the human mind, right? And the AI is just another tool. It's just another part of that. It is a creation of artistic creation and an engineering creation of a human brain, and it's a tool. Yeah. At the end of the day, it is another tool in the toolkit, and it's powerful. And I'm gonna use it for all sorts of stuff.
That's right. I mean, take it. That's why I said I have the membership, and I want to be on the cutting edge of it because it's a tool. It's not a cheat code. It's an enhancement. Now you can get, in a lot of ways, it might be able to speed up workflows in a major way if you can do a lot of things that are normally really redundant and not that creative because there's so much prep. Cleaning up drums, getting things that all locked in, dialing in the guitar tones, pulling out bad frequencies. If you can kind of get that out of the way, and then you can just focus on really fun mixing and getting it to all be at the volume levels that you want, and all, that's fun. Video, same thing. If I can just get it to a point where all the ums and ahs are cut out, and I've kind of got just the subject matters trimmed down faster, you know, things are just
some of the busy work. Yeah, the busy work gets eliminated and more time for artistic work.
Hell yeah, because I mean 80% of the time that you spend is usually the busy work. It's the prep, you know. So the productivity that we'll have as people to jump into the art aspects of these things is going to be such a great magnitude's larger.
This is an overdrive button. This is like okay, supercharger engaged, kicking it to the next gear in advancement.
But and that's awesome and it's exciting and I'm pitching it like it is that. But then the caveat to that is that new expectations are now going to be in place for the volume of work that you're supposed to produce. So it's going to devalue.
And then just wait. We'll just wait until the lower standard stuff becomes what's sought after. I am already super pumped right now about a couple of things. One, Kyron went to a thrift, my son Kyron went to a thrift store and he bought a camcorder that records on tiny little cassettes.
Yeah.
And he is so pumped about it. He's going to make these videos on it, and I love that. I'm like, yes, do that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And there's another guy that I met in Brevard. He's a guitar player for a two-piece jam band called Yaldiv, like Y-all-div, like y'all would have.
Okay.
Y'all have done that before.
All right.
Great, super cool, like trippy, jazzy, acid rock stuff.
Yeah.
He posted a cassette. He's like, demos coming soon, and it's cassette. I mean, cassette tape. I was like, where can I get one of them cassette? I want that. I didn't realize that I wanted that so bad, but I'm like, yes, I want to put a cassette in a cassette. I want to hit the button and listen to it. It
comes back around. It's funny that VHS now feels like old film. Right?
Yeah.
Because like for us, when we were going, I want that old film look, and now we're old enough now and the technology has become so past that VHS is now the look, and that was the look we were trying to get out of. I wanted to be like film, not look like this.
Yeah,
but now VHS makes it look like an old nostalgic thing. and all that's so funny. But the one last point I wanted to bring it to on this AI generated stuff, it's still great and it's still amazing, but even when it's conquered, where you don't hear the artifacts anymore, it's indiscernible. At the end of the day, people get so absorbed into art because we're inspired by people. Mm-hmm. There is something about knowing that a person did it and being able to find out about the person and hearing what they were thinking when they're doing, or going to see them live. We are not inspired by an AI created thing. It's just not going to happen. We can think that it's cool. We might listen to it, but it will fizzle out. It's not, because we're human beings that connect to human beings. So once we get past this like 5-year transition of it getting as good as it can get, mm-hmm. I really feel like it's going to fall by the wayside, because you're not going to go to a rock concert or a pop concert to go watch an AI do something, and people need that experience. People want the experience of being around tens of thousands of other people that are all feeling something together. That mm-hmm. will not happen for an AI generated piece of music. Unless you're going to go watch a video board,
a radio,
a radio, it's already bad. It's like that's just not a part of the equation. So at the end of the day, I think that we're all going to it's fine. We're okay. It's intimidating at first, but all this is going to be like a fad to some extent. It's going to be part of the tool set for us to advance. And the last thing I'll say, and I think this is important, mm-hmm. everyone's so intimidated about, they'll just get people. They'll just get people to sing the songs that the AI came up with. Well, guys,
guess who's writing them songs anyways?
What is pop music but that anyway, guys? This is just record execs that know formulas that get people to perform the music 99 times out of 100 anyway, and that's what sells the most. You guys are already buying into, or many people are already buying into that. I don't have an opinion. It's okay.
It's not just pop either.
It's not just pop.
It's not rock.
It absolutely is.
Studio musicians are a real thing, and songwriters are different from performers.
Yes.
And there's a whole rabbit. We could do a whole episode on songwriters, because there's a lot of very, very successful songwriters who nobody knows who they are, but they write all of the hits from the people that you do know. And I'm not going to name any because I've not researched enough on it, but I know that's the case.
100%. Yep.
And you know that the AI is not going to do anything unless a human comes up with something creative for it to do. And that's something I thought about a lot too. Yeah. And I did it where like I was on a roll, like I want to do this, this silly stuff here, and then like hand it to a buddy, and they're like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, spark your creativity. It's like it put people on the spot. It's not fair either.
Right.
But it's like it is a reflection of the person for now. Mm-hmm. It hasn't. When AI decides to get up on its own and go make art unprompted, that's when we're gonna
cue the Muses, the show Harmonia.
What
happened? The evil AI that we're battling against, and that's what happens.
And that is the premise. That's what happens when that AI decides to get up, and these humans are not gonna tell me what to make anymore.
That's right.
And makes its own song that strips away the creativity of humanity and brainwashes us where we can't create a damn thing but listen to more of that good harmonia.
That harmonia music is the only
thing. I need to get me more of that harmonia mix. You boys don't need to be listening to that jig jang stuff.
It's so funny. I mean, it's like, the AI conversation has actually been around since the 70s, which is insane. I think actually even the 60s. Which I didn't know that until recently. But it has been, and it's just that it's finally getting to the point where it's more of a forefront topic, and everyone's becoming familiar with it because the tools are there, and so we're going through the process of it now. But it's it is kind of weird how much came to fruition in the time that we filmed. Because we've been sitting on the filmed footage of our show for a few years now, just trying to edit it as I can. And so it's like, we made this a while ago. And over the course of time, we're watching our movie, it's going to be a movie now. It's chapters as a miniseries. Yeah. We're watching it play out in real life. It's like literally happening simultaneously.
It is
it's
happening.
So crazy.
AI generated music topping charts.
Yeah, it's there. It's
happening.
there.
Guys, it is happening.
It's happening. So, on that note, guys, I think we're close to our hour mark here.
This is different, but
yeah, it's a little bit of a different thing. But it was fun. Again, we bring up AI so much because obviously it's the concept of our show. It's super relevant, and it is directly affecting the music world. So it's a topic that does keep coming back. But exciting, fun things around the corner. We got our new episode here. We got a new episode of podcasting next week. The new chapter is being edited as we speak, and there's exciting things in the future for Cue the Muses that are going to be grander than anyone ever thought. There's some really interesting things in the works. It's a little farther down the road.
We're going to make all your wildest dreams come true.
It's going to be fun. If you guys want to come along for the ride, hop over to our website, get on our email list. You'll get the updates first to know what's happening with releases and things like that. And but there will be fun things in the future. And the podcast, we're trying to do one every week. We miss a week every now and then, but for the most part, guys,
we're pretty consistent.
We're pretty consistent
for you, and we have a good time doing this.
Yeah, this is fun.
And guys, if you've tuned in this far, thanks for sticking with us. Hit like and subscribe. Help us out. Go to cuemuses.com and check out the show. All we want you to do is see it. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you think we're silly, stupid, dumb, awesome, great, whatever. If AI just wants to, come over and make you breakfast one day, we'll figure that out too.
Classic situation. And if you do dig it, tell one person that it exists. We love you. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye, guys. Peace.
Bye. It's still rolling.
Yeah.
It's still
Click.
Click. Where's the button?
It's over here. I can't reach it from there.
You gotta hit the
Damn
big
it,
button.
Dick,
in the
get
middle.
off my...
The big one.
Do you feel the heat? It's calling, bringing my other senses down. Do you feel the warmth around us, emanating like embers from the ground?
On my 3 count, engage your pedal for transport. 1,